Hey, it's Forrest, KI7QCF. Welcome back to my channel. I like to operate Morse code, and I enjoy doing it on 2 meters. There's one HT in the entire world, one handheld, where 2 meters CW is possible. This is aboard the Quanshengs. I already have a video on the K5. This is the IJV 2.95 firmware where I discuss how to modify and set this up. The limitation, of course, is it's via manual key, which, by the way, doesn't matter. When you go out to operate 2 meter CW, you're not going to be navigating a pileup. You need to text a few friends ahead of time. Then on a summit or at a park, you might get 1, maybe 2 QSOs if you're lucky. Doing so aboard a straight key awkwardly with your finger. I hope you've seen what is now a few dozen videos of me doing that. It's a ton of fun. I really loved the IJV 2.95. I even have the IJV 4.0 here. The purpose of today's video is to specifically talk about the K1. We're going to talk about the Mini Kong, and we're going to talk about what I think is to date the best firmware out there. Quanshengs are incredibly annoying because everyone wants to know, where do I get one? And then once I do have one, how do I set it up? And I mentioned this in the previous video I did. It's not plug and play and obvious out there. You've got to do some digging, some research, find the right links. I have friends that have bought all these and then they're still reaching out where, what, how, why, when. And so for me to put out a video, I think is just helpful. You guys can go out and get your K1s set up how I have these guys set up. So again, I think it's the best firmware to date. Got to give a big shout out to Brian NR7Y. But purpose for today is I have a brand new Mini Kong. So we're gonna go tear this thing apart, and in what'll be a brief video, I'm gonna show you how to fully set this up, which what I think is the, to date, 2026 best 2 meter HT hardware and software available for you to go out and get on the air with 2 meter CW. And if you're a gangster, join BKG, which is kind of a trend lately. It's getting popular, it's becoming trendy. So let's hop over to the soldering iron and let's get this guy set up. So I decided to leave this guy on the bench, but I actually have literally 5 or 6 of these that are actually destroyed. So where I screwed up here was I actually damaged the lighting in my basement. It's just so awful, it's not going to zoom in, but if you can't tell, this ribbon is completely ripped off. So this screen, it just broke when I took it apart. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the K1 specifically. As much as I love this radio, compared to the K5, it's about 3 times easier to break upon disassembly. Not if you're careful. That's just me. I've torched well over a dozen Quanshengs in my time, and the K1s are easy to do. The tools you're going to need for this, you're going to want like a little tool. I always keep a couple of these on hand, just like your little tool set screwdrivers with different inserts. You'll need a small flathead. I'll show you why here in a second. And then specifically, this is a Torx, a T8 Torx, so T8. And that's what we're going to use first. So we'll open the K1. This is our beautiful Mini Kong. You got to love that it's called the Mini Kong. And the first thing you'll do, depending on where you get it, this can be very difficult to get off. In my case, very easy. But if you get one from China or different places, you never know, they can require some muscle. I've actually used a vise before to get it off, but you'll get it off. Just pop off that. Here is our Torx T8. You're only going to remove these 2 bottom screws. So that's it. You don't need an up close shot of this. It's just these 2 bottom screws. And now you're actually ready to remove the PCB. That's where that flathead comes in handy. And this is where I'm going to try to demonstrate extreme caution. Because if I break this, then the video stops and you guys will never see this YouTube. So if this made it onto YouTube, that means I somehow didn't break this guy. So just be extremely gentle. You're just going to kind of pop it out, slide it down a little bit, and I'll show you why you've got to be extremely gentle with these guys. If you watch my K5 video, you'll remember I ripped this thing out without any preoccupation. The K1 is a different story. So this is a little plastic piece right here that you can just kind of pull it off. Throw it to the side, doesn't matter. But this ribbon right here, this is the I've ripped many a ribbon on these K1s, so when you go to place it down, just bear in mind. And my buddy, you know, he shows you can just flip this open and take the ribbon out. I prefer not to. So I'm just going to leave it like this for kind of the duration of the modification. The modification is actually extremely simple to make. But then the next ribbon I have to be aware of is that one I just demonstrated here. This is extremely easy to break. So with the flathead, you're just going to go down. It's a little latch. So you're just going to compress it and then pull up the monitor, the screen. Okay, that's good. And then there's technically another latch there, but once you free one, the other one's extremely easy to get out. So I have successfully disassembled my K1 without breaking it, that's the hardest part of the build. Congratulations if you do that. You should be in a good spot. So I'm going to transition to the phone a little bit because again, I know that this is an HD zooming in for you guys. Now that our PCB is revealed, there's two very simple modifications we're going to make. We're going to run wires and we're going to remove resistors or capacitors. I have no idea what they are. I do know they're SMD components. So I'm going to circle them right here. In fact, I'll even throw up the Brian NR7Y graphic so you guys can see exactly what we're going to do. All information, the firmware, the flasher, as well as the how-to instructions from Brian are linked in the description. But now let's get into actually throwing these modifications on. I recommend going to Amazon and getting some, you should always have silicone wire on hand if you're a ham. If you like building antennas or making counterpoises for your KH1 like I do. Have some 28 gauge on hand. I have various colors. I think I bought this in a 5-pack with different colors, but we're going to cut really short lengths and then strip a little section. This is 28 gauge per the instructions, and just route the wiring on this K1. I don't even measure it. I just kind of eyeball the two pieces I think I need. It's okay if they're a little long. It's not like it has to be perfect. It's funny, my cutters are getting dull. They struggle cutting that 28 gauge wire. Now, use some high-end strippers. And we're just gonna strip tiny little pieces off the end. There's one end off. That's even more than I would like. I'm gonna kind of fold it over a little bit. And then we'll do the same thing here. We're just gonna strip two tiny little pieces off. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to solder these guys in. So per the picture I threw up earlier, the first blob of solder we're going to utilize is the third down. So 1, 2, 3, indicated here. It's this blob of solder on the very edge of the board. And we're going to run it to the very bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Note this, there's a little prong that goes into where the screen goes. This blob of solder from here to the third down. Really pay attention to that. Believe it or not, I've actually done multiple K1s where I chose the wrong one. I just wasn't paying attention and missorted it. So first wire from here to here, and you do want a little slack length so you're not running into where the screen needs to pop in at these 2 points. So I'll come back to what that wire looks like again. It's in the visual I already showed. Next blob of solder that we're gonna run is this top one. So 1 out of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's this 1. And we're gonna run a long wire down to 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're gonna use this third one again in the graphic. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, this wire is just way longer than I need it to be, so I'm gonna cut off some right there. No big deal. And it can be a good idea to have kind of some helping hands a little bit. Okay, that's perfect. You can go ahead and prepare your third. Just put a blob of solder down, heat up that little pad, melt some solder on just like that. I think this is probably too long as well. Okay, that's gonna work perfect. So again, sorry that's not an HD zoom in there, but you guys get the idea. It's just know where to solder it in. The last thing we need to do is remove 2 resistors. So I'll throw those up on the screen as well. And the way you remove those is just put a little bit of heat. Boom, it's gone. Both are gone. I almost ripped my ribbon there again. That would have been epic. Okay, now we'll just close this guy up. We'll be as gentle as we can. I like putting that bottom one in first. That went in pretty easily. So now we're just going to replace this plastic piece. There you go. I'm going to show you guys one other trick when you're putting this guy back in. So when you're putting this guy back in, you know, just go ahead and push it back in, but pay close attention to these 2 buttons here. And I'll tell you why. This is another thing that just makes the K1 more sensitive than the K5. So that just went in unbelievably easy, as it should. But if you notice a little distortion, torsion, twisting, irritation, you'll notice this one kind of out of place. I could maybe demo it with that guy, but if you notice these 2 buttons aren't perfectly flush and just look like where they're supposed to be, that could cause you a problem when you go to flash it. I've actually had it where I put the PCB back in and this was kind of compressed, and it's a weird thing. You just want to get it to where the plastic, there's a rubber insert here. You don't want the plastic in the PCB to disrupt it. I've had it where I flash the firmware and it won't turn back on, and it's because I actually have a button pushed here. So for what it's worth, be aware of that. Okay, then just put both of your screws back in. And that is a very simple mod. You know, you can do this in under 5 to 10 minutes if you have the right tools. And my battery looks good. I will throw on the high-tech K1 antenna. We'll do a V1 test. This is what it'll look like from the factory.
Channel mode 1.
your Minicon firmware, and let's go flash this guy. To flash your K1, I recommend having a Baofeng cable. Most hams have these lying around, but you will need the cable linked in the description. Once your cable is plugged in, you do need to put it into flash mode, which is holding the PTT and turning it on. If this white light comes on, that means you're good to go. Linked in the description is the specific firmware to download. It is the NR7Y Beta 2. Just click that link and then click the .bin file and download the firmware. Then you will also find the specific flasher I recommend. I really recommend this website flasher. Don't download those crappy Quansheng specific flashers that are downloadable to your PC. Okay, once you have the flashing website up and you've selected the Beta 2 firmware, you'll then confirm your COM port. You can quickly identify which COM port is which by unplugging the radio. You'll see the COM port disappear and then reappear. I can see that is COM 12. And when the flashing is successful, you'll actually see the light start to blink. Flashing takes about 20 seconds. When the flashing is complete, the radio will turn on and you should see the NR7Y firmware mod is there. There we go, NR7Y there at the bottom. We'll go to the BKG calling frequency. First step is make sure this thing is on QRO mode. Then we will go to CW mode. Man, I thought I knew where the mode was. Here it is. CW. I like to change my side tone hertz the lowest there is in the menu, 450, which is a great option. Your CW side tone volume. You can actually put your mode for iambic there, iambic B, put your words per minute. And then you'll change this to PTT plus tip plus dit plus dot ring. And let me plug that in just for fun and see if this works. Okay, sweet. That means we're good to go. You guys are now ready to get your K1s on the air and call CQ on 2 meters. Very fine business 73.